MrBeast has spent the past few years laying the groundwork for, honestly, one of the most brilliant and sinister propaganda campaigns in the history of YouTube, where he has been slowly programming his audience to view him eliminating thousands of jobs while turning YouTube into an AI shrine to MrBeast as some kind of noble pursuit. And while his AI thumbnail scandal was the classic Icarus moment that brought these plans to light, he's also spent the last 2 years preparing the platform for a world where YouTube will no longer have room for visual artists, voice actors, graphic designers, or, well, any YouTuber talented enough to have a chance of borrowing the spotlight from the great MrBeast. And while such an emphasis on profit might seem out of character for Jimmy, things start to make a lot more sense when you learn that Jimmy's company is currently bleeding $100 million a year, giving us the always great combination of a billionaire who is desperate to make money at any cost. Oh, but that reminds me, some of us actually aren't billionaires, so first, I gotta thank today's sponsor, Delete Me. Did you know there are hundreds of data broker websites selling your personal information online? Things like your address, phone number, relatives, even your job. And the worst part is, anyone can buy it. That opens the door to risks like phishing scams, stalking, or harassment. And once your information is out there, it's almost impossible to track down and remove on your own. Data brokers collect from public records, social media, and other sources, and they can keep republishing it even after you try to take it down. That's where Delete Me comes in. Delete Me's privacy experts find your personal information on hundreds of these sites and submit the opt-out request for you. They keep monitoring all year long and send you regular privacy reports so you can see exactly what was found and removed. Services like this have saved me countless hours of work, not to mention provide peace of mind. And you don't have to be a YouTuber to benefit from keeping your information more private. Delete Me makes the process simple, transparent, and ongoing so you can take back some control over your privacy. Right now, you can get 20% off all Delete Me consumer plans when you go to joindeleteme.com/JimmyRobbins and use promo code JimmyRobbins at checkout. That's joindeleteme.com/JimmyRobbins, code JimmyRobbins spelled like the bird. Thanks again to Delete Me for helping keep the lights on. Now back to the video. Okay, so if we're going to talk about Jimmy's obsession with AI, we might as well start with his most famous blunder, view stats. You see, actually making YouTube videos can be a fairly small part of, well, making YouTube videos. So unless you're an expert in production, taxes, search engines, graphic design, marketing, law, and analysis, you're likely going to be in over your head quickly. Hence why there are various services that will specifically try to demystify some of the more confusing aspects like analytics or discoverability. And since generally creator-driven initiatives like this greatly benefit from a professional creator taking the helm,
and it's our hope through this creator caucus that legislation is timely and relevant.
For a proper stream, you need proper music. In the 4 years since we launched StreamBeats, not a single streamer has gotten a DMCA strike.
All of us have heard horror stories of management companies taking all the rights to a creator's content. It really helps when the creators across the table from you are the owners of the company itself.
Then yeah, it makes a lot of sense for someone like MrBeast to enter this market, and ViewStats is born.
I've built a ton of internal tools that I use on my MrBeast YouTube channel, and now I'm releasing all those tools in ViewStats Pro. ViewStats is not some company paying me money. This is literally my business that I built to help creators grow their channels.
But okay, great. The under the hood analytical side of YouTube is more manageable, but that's only the start. I mean, how are you supposed to make a good thumbnail if you've never opened Photoshop? It doesn't matter if you create a masterpiece video that nobody clicks on, right? Well, that's the gap that ViewStats has really focused on filling. But how is a website supposed to help you with your thumbnails for $80 a month? Well, they can provide you with consultations or offer a discount on thumbnail artists. I'd say that's a reasonable price, but we already know that involves AI. So okay, maybe the website can give real-time feedback on your uploaded thumbnails, using both what works for YouTube and your specific audience to personalize your feedback. It's ambitious, but that sounds cool, right? Yeah, let's not kid ourselves. He went with the worst possible choice, generative AI.
There's a new way to make professional looking viral thumbnails with zero Photoshop experience. From creating custom results from any channel to literally being able to put your face on a thumbnail, it literally feels like cheating. This is the home of the AI tool where you can type in any channel on all of YouTube and it will use it as inspiration for the thumbnail it's generating. So for example, let's say you're MrBeast. You would just type in MrBeast here. Now it's gonna look at all my recent videos and get inspiration from them. And for the prompt, I'm gonna type in stranded on a volcano. And there you go, we now have a thumbnail with me dangling on the side of a volcano. If you really like the thumbnail you're generating, but not the face on it, don't worry, we have this face swap tool that you can click. I'm now gonna hit face swap and take the thumbnail from this to this automatically. This is the future of YouTube thumbnails. No more complicated Photoshop and having to get a PhD in how to edit things and figure out what 1,000 buttons do.
So instead of enabling people to expand their skill sets, we're just gonna steal. That's just great, except for all of the many parts that aren't. Now, I know everyone and their mother has a think piece on generative AI, so I'll skip to the main point. See, AI in its current stage isn't thinking like you might assume. Instead, it essentially predicts what the most likely words or pixels to appear in response to your requests are, which is why they often say things that are just wrong. So the best way to get more precise is by training the AI on existing media. YouTube videos, movies, novels, encyclopedias, anything you can name. Companies like OpenAI have frantically trained their AIs with copyrighted materials before any laws can decide it's illegal. This all means that almost anything AI produces is simply imitating something from within its database, which is part of the reason for the strong reaction against AI. It's stealing from artists to replicate what they can do in order to replace the very ones that were talented enough to copy.
I'm definitely getting ripped off. Like, I know I'm getting ripped off because a bunch of big companies have signed licensing deals with AI companies so they can train on their data. So they're getting paid for their data to be in the model, and I'm not getting paid for my data to be in the model. And that seems like a bunch of balls to me.
For example, imagine that a network wants a script written by Vince Gilligan, but they don't want to pay him. They could just tell the AI to use his work to learn how to replicate his signature style. AI is essentially making artists put themselves out of work without any kind of compensation or consent. So when you consider the role of theft in AI, not to mention the very on-the-nose face swap thumbnails, you might see where the backlash would start. And creators in particular hated this announcement.
I hate MrBeast doing that. That is cringe. The best thing he could do for it would be just take it down. It is just a net negative for the entire creator space.
And it's just kind of like blackpilling to see one of the largest content creators on the platform openly pushing for this like AI revolution to take hold.
With some like Point Crow taking issue with all of the labor put into his thumbnails being used to train the AI model without his consent, even going so far as to say he would be interested in joining a class action lawsuit. I mean, even Jacksepticeye was pissed. Despite him and Jimmy previously coming into conflict and putting aside their differences.
Do you think MrBeast ruined YouTube?
Yes, because it became more about views, money, and popularity than it did about having fun.
So that's why I was like, I'll DM him and like show that I don't actually like dislike Jimmy.
Jack expressed particular outrage at his logo being used to help promote the product, straight up saying, "Fuck AI." And others pointed out that Jimmy's language around leveling the playing field seemed to be lip service more than a genuine attempt to help the little guy. Quote, "Wanting to level the playing field between those with 300 employees and those without means you want to make those 300 people redundant, meaning they won't have jobs. Seems like your tool is designed to enable firing your artist while getting $50 from everyone else. Out of touch, evil genius move." So what was Jimmy's response? Well, it's complicated. You see, at first, Jimmy simply stated that he would continue his rollout of the tool, but that the face swapping feature should only be used to swap the faces on your own thumbnails. So his first resolution was essentially nothing, unless you count an honor system. Then, almost a week later, the backlash remained since, you know, he didn't actually change anything, so he gave a more thorough response.
I launched an AI thumbnail tool to help small creators make better thumbnails, and I thought people were going to be pretty excited about it, but I definitely missed the mark. If you open up Twitter, you know what I'm talking about. Well, anyone from now on that signs up for ViewStats Pro, there will not be the AI thumbnail tool. It just doesn't exist. We pulled it down. Under our more tools section, it will say hire thumbnail artists. And if you click that, it'll take you to a page of artist portfolios where you can commission a real thumbnail artist to make you a real thumbnail. My goal here is to build tools to help creators. And if creators don't want the tools, no worries. Like, it's not that big of a deal. I've probably spent more money on thumbnail artists than the top 100 creators combined. I mean, I have a small army of thumbnail artists that work for me. I'm looking to hire more thumbnail artists. So I just want to put that out there. And I have no intention of firing my thumbnail artists or anything. Like, this is, you know, just supposed to help make them more effective and blah, blah. I mean, you know what I'm saying.
And I'll touch on why I think his response is total BS in a bit, but either way, the website no longer has these features, at least currently. But I specifically framed this video as me sounding the alarm over this. Sounds extreme so far, right? I mean, YouTubers and Walking Things Back are an iconic duo, so what's different here? Well, despite what Jimmy's PR team might want people to think, this isn't his first time using AI with the end goal of eliminating jobs. And it's clear he doesn't plan on stopping with AI thumbnails. You see, despite how much of his global success is owed to his international voice actors,
most of my audience doesn't speak English anymore.
Does it take a genius to figure out that our Espanol channel, if you just look at MrBeast's Espanol, was doing over 20 million views a video. Some of the videos were getting 100 million views. You know, our Portuguese channel was doing 5 to 10 million views a video. French was doing millions of views a video. And so you can imagine if you take 12 channels like those, and instead of doing them all separate, you combine them on one, it supercharges the heck out of the videos. So, I mean, put 2 and 2 together, it's added a lot of views per video for us.
He is clamoring to not have to pay them anymore. Even back in 2023, when this technology was first emerging, he was already making plans to render them redundant, making it clear that once he could, he would.
Do you provide the voiceover person, or is that done automatically?
Yeah.
Because they're working on an automatic version, I was told.
Yeah, for the first or the next 2 years, it'll probably sound terrible. But of course, at some time in the near future, AI dubbing will,
We get hit up about that all the time for the All In podcast.
Right now, I've trained a ton of different voice models. They all sound terrible. But it is, obviously getting better.
But okay, maybe we can take after Jimmy and be just a bit more charitable. Except if you fast forward to today, you already have him bragging about replacing people with AI in order to impress billionaires.
In one of our 16 languages, we swapped out the voice actors and started doing AI dubbing.
Oh wait, I'm sorry. He's actually using AI dubbing to change the actor's voice to his own because text-to-speech AI isn't advanced enough yet.
We have the voice actor read the script, and so it's still a voice actor, but then we change the voice actor's voice to sound like me, right? So it's not text to speech, it's speech to speech, right? Because text to speech isn't good enough yet.
Ignoring how insulting it is to replace an artist's performance like that, maybe he just misspoke again, right? He's not going to take it any farther because, in his words, he cares too much to let AI take jobs. Well, maybe we should also listen to his words while he begs Mark Zuckerberg to add a feature that would allow him to fire all of his voice actors at once.
It's getting so much better every month that I wouldn't be surprised if, ideally in a year, I just post a video on Facebook, check a box, and then it, like you said, just AI dubs it in 20 languages. That'd be ideal. And hopefully within a year, have dubs, and you can reach even more people.
I think your request of getting that within a year is very reasonable.
I just want to harp on this because I'm telling you, it will change everything.
I agree.
Yeah, after some thorough testing, it turns out that his company's future hinges on his actual voice speaking every language. And he uses an improvement in his watch time to justify this. But it must be a pretty crazy difference then, because there's no way he just cares about saving money despite generating unfathomable amounts of it, right?
The retention's actually 1% higher in that language.
Yeah, 1%. That's all it takes. Also, his excuse makes no sense.
People love that because, being able to hear me speak, theoretically, we don't do it in Spanish, but if you're a Spanish speaker and you heard Jimmy speaking Spanish instead of some voice actor Jimmy's paying to speak Spanish, it's a whole different experience.
Why would non-native speakers care if it's his voice? They don't speak English, meaning they're not used to his voice, right? I couldn't care less that Sasuke has a different voice in English because I've only ever heard Yuri Lowenthal's excellent performance, meaning to me, that is Sasuke's voice. So let's review. According to Jimmy, he has no intention of causing anyone to lose work because of his implementation of generative AI. Yet so far, he's tried to have small creators pay him for thumbnails instead of commissioning artists. And he's actively begging Zuckerberg to give him the tools to fire dozens of voice actors so that he can just press a button and call it a day, while, in my opinion, completely misrepresenting the benefit of doing so. Because of course, that has nothing to do with cutting costs. It's just that 1% really make or break. I mean, we all know how attached people get to a voice they've never heard before. Is it just me, or do Jimmy's actions not even remotely match the lip service of his apology? It's almost like for a production of his size, there's virtually no ethical implementation of generative AI. Well, don't worry, there's a deceptive third approach he's taken to try to slip it in once again. As he previously posted a job listing for an AI concept artist that drew quite a bit of criticism across Twitter and Reddit. In fact, this is when he started using the defense that because he hires a bunch of thumbnail artists, you're stupid for criticizing his use of AI.
We use AI for thumbnail mockups just to give our thumbnail team something to work off of. It wasn't replacing a job or anything, but Twitter went crazy when we posted that. And they're like, you, Jimmy, pay artists, stop trying to put artists out of jobs. And it's so hypocritical because I have more thumbnail artists on payroll than anyone else on YouTube, probably times 10.
Weird how his response to any criticism is some way that he throws his money around. Though, a couple more things here. One, he has the most thumbnail artists because his channel focuses on them in a way that requires an army on standby. That's not him being charitable, he's just famously obsessed with thumbnails.
According to one of the top executives at MrBeast headquarters, the team comes up with around 50 thumbnail and title concepts per video. Then they go live with their favorite 20 versions of that picture and do A/B testing to figure out what people click on.
2, his main defense for the concept artist position was basically that no one's being fired. This is a brand new, unique position that requires AI.
I just wanted to hire one person to help them with inspiration for their work and make their lives a little easier. And people just went on a giant crusade against me. which is
insane.
Yeah, but I mean, that's the world I live in now.
So is he trying to pretend that concept artists aren't already a thing? Because fun fact, concept artists are an extremely common, even if often overlooked, role in entertainment. But it's not like they're important, unless, you know, you think it's important to have inspired arguably the most iconic moments and arguably the most iconic narrative game of all time.
We had this wonderful piece of concept art we developed really early on, and there are all of these wild animals that have escaped from a zoo and over the past 20 years have bred, and now they have herds roaming these cities. And that's something that tells you that life goes on and this world is worth saving.
Not to mention the visual identity of everything. So even if you didn't have any prior to this, you're still using one person to artificially do the work of several through generative AI, which means, yes, you're replacing jobs. Yeah, whatever you do, make sure you don't ask concept artists what they think about this, because, well, Jimmy sure didn't.
On Midjourney, another popular generator, it's incredibly easy to find posts using Carla's name to generate work that looks incredibly similar to hers. And the same is true for dozens of other artists online. So earlier this year, Carla and a group of other artists filed a class action lawsuit against Stability AI and a group of other AI image generators.
And that to me felt really invasive because I had never given anyone my permission to do that.
But notice that he knows how to dance around that. So despite his best attempts to mislead people into believing otherwise, hopefully you agree that he is fully using generative AI to save money on labor and has absolutely no intention to either back off or inform the public of any of the ethical problems associated with it. And to be clear, his lack of acknowledgement is him feigning ignorance. He knows exactly why it's wrong considering the countless artists he brags about employing. But why do I care so much about one YouTuber being unethical? Isn't all of this a bit overkill? Well, for it to make sense, we need to briefly touch on why something like this matters so much more when it comes from the top YouTuber. Because the person who sits at the top of the platform has always been two things: a representative for creators at large, but also a scarily accurate predictor of what's to come for the platform. Let me explain. For a very powerful chunk of the population, the ones writing legislation and holding all the money, what they hear about YouTube and creators starts and stops at whatever catches headlines. And we saw how devastating this can be in 2017, during what became known as the adpocalypse, because advertisers were growing more concerned about where their ads were being placed. It's not a great look to have bigoted content funded by Coca-Cola, right? Especially at a time where Americans were responding to any kind of misstep in media much more quickly and aggressively, and not hesitating to share the bad publicity with any connected brands. Also at this time, you had Felix, aka PewDiePie, sitting comfortably as the #1 YouTuber, but Felix wasn't interested in the responsibility of representing YouTubers, just making videos.
And I feel like I've finally come in terms with the responsibility I have as a creator. About 100 million subs too late, but you know.
But regardless, he was the face of YouTube going into 2017, and it only took until February for that to become a problem, as he posted a video testing out Fiverr where he paid a couple of boys to hold up an extremely offensive sign. And joke or not, the video spread like wildfire.
PewDiePie was always kind of racist, but now he's a hero to the Nazis.
Some inflammatory articles are posted about how major brands are being advertised on top of very vile YouTube videos. A bunch of advertisers fearing backlash removed their ads entirely from YouTube, and during this period, every YouTuber saw a decrease in revenue. Also, Google's valuation dropped by like $750 million in a day. How big?
Yes, advertisers were gone and YouTube started scrambling to bring them back. And in an attempt to bring back their goodwill, YouTube became pretty draconian with ads for a while.
And this is what we're seeing more and more. The videos are being categorized as either having profane language or one of several different things it can be tagged as that many advertisers are going to opt out of on an across-the-board level. And YouTube changing their backend in this way for advertisers is very obviously because advertisers started to boycott. So YouTube changed a lot of things in an attempt to put out that fire.
Now let's quickly clarify two things. One, of course, Felix was not solely responsible for the adpocalypse. Lots of bad headlines were circulating because of various YouTubers.
It was discovered that a ton of inappropriate content for children was being fed to children, either through regular YouTube or the YouTube Kids app.
No! He's everything
It was a prank. It was a prank, man. It was a prank. I think there's someone hanging right there.
So the writing was on the wall, but at a time where edgy content was starting to hurt other creators, Felix was only bringing more and more attention to these problems. And two, I do think where we've ended up with ads on YouTube is where we would have ended up either way. But because both the scrutiny and stakes were suddenly raised so quickly, the short-term ramifications were devastating for creators. And since a lot of smaller ones are making just enough to scrape by, there are definitely channels that went under because of this transition. transition. And if it sounds like I'm reaching, that's not the only time this happened, where a known issue that a platform has been trying to address suddenly turns into a crisis because their top creator makes it a headline, leading the platform to overcorrect in a way that hurts others. The same exact thing happened after Bella Thorne scammed her subscribers for adult content. Hell, you could even argue that the top Viners unionizing and leaving the platform exacerbated Vine's problems from running an unprofitable website. So if we accept the idea that the top creators at the very least play a role in a platform being sustainable, maybe you can see where I'm going with this. And if you look closely, it almost seems like Jimmy's in the process of actively trying to normalize AI as a core part of making videos on YouTube.
I could go on and on, but this is the future of YouTube thumbnails.
It's gonna be almost unfathomable to make videos without AI like 2 years from now.
But okay, why hasn't he gone further then? Well, as of now, the culture online is so anti-AI that any indication of its use will lead to backlash.
There's no AI in Iron Lung. There's no AI in pretty much any of my regular content. There's nothing there. But I get why people are reactionary about it, because on the subreddit, for people that are wondering if the mods getting death threats was a thing, it still is a thing, because the discussion became incredibly vitriolic.
But once it's normalized, everyone has no choice but to just go along with it. Just like the constantly increasing presence of ads on these platforms.
I've been getting this notice. Video player will be blocked after one video. It looks like you may be using an ad blocker. Video playback will be blocked unless YouTube is allow listed or ad blocker is disabled.
There's no alternative, so you just deal with it. But all of those damaging effects of trying to compete with AI, they'll still be around. So as the face of YouTube, Jimmy growing increasingly fond of AI would likely signal to suits that they can use it to pump out videos endlessly and bury any independent creators by oversaturating YouTube even farther.
Even though MrBeast capitalized on it, don't you think it was inevitable with the direction AI is going? Yeah, but what you don't need is the biggest YouTuber on the platform to propel it forward. Give everyone the green light and easy access to completely taking human beings out of content. That's not a good thing. But yeah, with or without him, it's going to be made. It's coming. He just makes it worse when he does shit like that.
And if you're saying the stereotypical, haha, influencer suffering funny, do you really prefer rent money going into the pockets of billionaires because it was earned doing something creative? Really? Like, think about the message that Jimmy's words on AI send as a representative of YouTube compared to if the headline was him saying AI had no place on YouTube and should be treated as theft. I mean, hell, when reporting on this story, news outlets were already presenting AI thumbnails as something that creators just aren't ready for, rather than this being a hard line that was drawn. Keep in mind, it benefits big outlets for AI to be more normalized, so you're already going to deal with anti-AI concerns being portrayed as irrational. And while Jimmy is quick to get excited about the use cases for AI,
and there will probably be a day where you can, upload every MrBeast video and just go, all right, tell me what I should do. Sometime in the next year, I'm gonna go down the AI rabbit hole and be like, screw it. I'm gonna start putting 5 hours a day into this and figure out how I could use it to level up what I'm doing. But
he is very hesitant to draw any lines when it comes to its use. Like when he was accused of using AI to replace his role in Beast gaming videos, he simply stated that the video in question was an AI. But wouldn't you expect a stronger response? Like, I have no interest in using AI to replace my presence on camera? Wouldn't you expect that from someone falsely accused of something they find ridiculous? Especially given that this happened so soon after the AI thumbnail scandal? Most creators do anything to distance themselves from a controversy they've put behind them, yet Jimmy seems like he wants to keep the door open. In fact, the only hard lines I can find him drawing are when AI is used to mislead people.
People just rip my face, and then now they use artificial intelligence to do voice to voice, and so it sounds a lot like me. And then it'll be like 1,000 free coins, and I'm like, I never said that, but it starts to sound really real.
Or if it completely replaced human input for content creation.
I mean, there could be a AI like many MrBeasts that are created after you're gone.
Yeah, I mean, that'd be cool to be able to train up a model and let them loose so my content lives on, I guess. Yeah.
But it somehow feels like it diminishes the value you contribute.
Yeah,
it's inauthentic.
Yeah, the second that thing starts spamming out videos, the videos lose all meaning and it's pointless and it's a money grab.
But what about using it in place of CGI or writing or for him having to be on camera? What about editing? I know it sounds insincere to focus on what someone doesn't say, but the number of non-statements that Jimmy makes on this stands out to me in a fairly ominous way, both because of how consistently he does it, but also with what he has said. If he replaces editors and producers with singular department heads that supervise the AI, and the videos themselves are still shot on location, that would fit right in with what Jimmy has said while costing dozens of jobs. What's more, he's actively trying to get his viewers excited for when AI takes over YouTube by calling it a positive event event for the platform, even going so far as to say that somehow the creators who are hurt by it will owe it to the fact that they are less deserving and less talented than the people who thrive by having AI create on their behalf.
But it's also interesting because I don't think it will destroy things. I think it will just free up people to do more of what they love and like focus on creating, and they'll have that for inspiration. And like there'll probably be a period where everyone just plagiarizes and uses that, and like
it's going to get more homogenous at one point.
And then it'll normalize, and then the people who break through are going to be the ones that use that as inspiration and level up on it. And you know, it just kind of is what it is. But
I also find it concerning that in Point Crow's final statement on the matter, after speaking with Jimmy, the former went out of their way to say that they still didn't agree on this. So then what are Jimmy's plans for AI that he's not yet making public? Also, Jimmy's initial response to the view stats controversy was to do nothing more than slap on an unenforceable honor system, meaning effectively his first instinct was to do nothing while pretending otherwise. It wasn't until a week later that he announced that he would pull the feature, and even that statement made no attempt to acknowledge the harm of this technology. I understand he must have invested plenty of resources into this, but him going to such lengths to not have to distance himself from this technology doesn't exactly make me confident that he has any real intention of backing off here, especially when he has already crossed the line of replacing workers with AI. And all of this matters because companies like Netflix and Vogue have already started to use generative AI to cut costs on their productions. And while AI models for Vogue might not sound like the biggest deal, eliminating photo shoots also leave makeup artists, photographers, crew, coordinators, craft services, and more without work. And again, all of that money saved is just going to the executives at Vogue. We know that the wrong people are interested in using AI to replace the ones they view as disposable. And I find it unsettling that MrBeast has become one of those people. And while yes, Jimmy somewhat backed off, he's still very much promoting AI. Like more recently, he posted to Twitter that his fiance generated a photo of what their future family might look like. And look, I'm not as down on AI as some people are. Environmental concerns aside, I think novelties like this are fine for personal enjoyment. But if you're MrBeast, why post it? When you get tagged in an AI-generated video about you on a monetized platform, why respond positively and expose it to your audience? Again, why would you not do everything you can to publicly distance yourself from what caused such backlash unless your goal is to further normalize generative AI as a means of making content? And while I understand it sucks to have everything you post be read into like this, Jimmy wanted that responsibility. Unlike Felix, he wants to champion change.
So I think it would be a good reflection on creators, because if Beast Games wins an Emmy, then it's like, see, creators can't make good shows. And then success is, you know, having this crush so other creators can use it and go, look, Jimmy killed it with Beast Games. Give me a good deal, believe in me, and get more creative freedom, get better terms.
I love being the biggest creator on YouTube. Why would I not want to be the biggest YouTuber on the platform? Like, why do I need to do anything else? Like, I just want to keep growing, be at the top.
I care more than any of you could ever imagine about the YouTube community. I mean, obviously, I'm the biggest YouTuber in the world, and I don't take that responsibility lightly.
I don't know. It feels very tone deaf to me to post something like this, given the backlash he already got for using generative AI. If you wanted to talk conspiracy theories, doesn't this seem like he's trying to slowly normalize it now to try releasing his product again later, or to slowly incorporate more and more AI into the making of his videos? Like, show the more harmless applications so that the masses are on board when it comes time for the bigger swings. Since Twitter is a platform where creators make money, and Jimmy has now profited off of this generative AI, I don't know. Call me dramatic, but I think the line between that and using generative AI for his YouTube videos is shorter than it seems. A video is just a series of moving images after all, and he's already profiting from generative AI across multiple platforms. Hell, you could argue the AI dub has already crossed that line, since he's not just clicking the checkbox on YouTube, but has been actively investing into it. And I always hate speculating about intention, but when you put it all together, isn't it just weird? And while yes, the #1 YouTuber acting as the face of the platform is a very important role, it's not the only reason this matters, because the top spot also tends to signal where YouTube is heading in the near future. Which makes sense, right? Being ahead of your competition is an advantage in any field. Though let me quickly explain what I mean. By 2011, Ray William Johnson was the top YouTuber with his series =3, essentially his take on America's funniest home videos, and both react videos and consistent television-esque series took off soon after. Whereas Smosh retaking the crown in 2013 came at a time where their production value and consistency were through the roof. And sure enough, production value started to climb. And for a long time, weekly, if not daily videos were considered essential on YouTube. And like I mentioned, PewDiePie acted as an early warning for creators that off-the-cuff personality-driven content was becoming riskier in the increasingly tense climate. I mean, we literally have words like scraped and unalived being coined in response to social media platforms trying to please advertisers. Hell, even T-Series made it clear the top of YouTube would always be populated by corporations and large-scale productions going forward, that you couldn't really hack it on your own anymore at that massive of a scale. So with all of that said, maybe you can understand why his growing affinity for AI is concerning to me, even before you remember him declaring it as the future of YouTube.
I could go on, but this is the future of YouTube thumbnails. No more complicated Photoshop and having to get a PhD in how to edit things and figure out what 1,000 buttons do. Now, you can literally just type into a prompt what you want, and it'll give it to you.
And that AI dubbing that he's been working on for years?
Right now, I've trained a ton of different voice models. They all sound terrible. But it is, obviously getting better.
Fast forward to today, guess what YouTube themselves are rolling out? And you might say I'm being too alarmist. He backed off, so what's the problem? Well, he actually kind of did the opposite if you pay close enough attention.
He's never pledged to not use AI in his thumbnails and initially refused to pull the product. He's full speed ahead in counting the voice actors, and he straight up lied about the concept artist because he knows how unpopular what he's doing is. In fact, I would argue that any creator paying even the smallest amount of attention knows that AI is always met with hostility.
I don't think it'll do well most of the time. I think people don't like seeing AI in thumbnails. If they even think things are AI, they're very antagonistic towards the product. It procs aggro instantly if you think something AI, to the point where I hired an artist from Hungary to make me art, and people thought it was AI, and they all were really fucking mean to her, even though she just spent hours drawing.
Honestly, it feels like Jimmy's plan was that when the backlash came, he would ignore it and barrel forward until everyone moved on, and boom, it's fully normalized. I mean, isn't that how he got through the Lunchly pushback?
Is it fair to say that Lunchly is healthier? I guess one can say yes, but honestly, probably more so as a marketing tactic. I can't expect non-medical people to get this perfect, but if you're gonna stand by a children's food product being healthy, you need to hold your messaging to a higher standard.
Or how Cody Ko is still making bank. And I'm curious if it was the creators turning against him that caused Jimmy to backpedal. Because yes, Jimmy is large enough that people not liking him is almost a non-factor. But many of his biggest projects rely on having access to anyone in content creation. Losing access to that would be pretty damaging. Though you might say that AI can have a place as a tool for productivity. It's only when you start replacing jobs that it becomes a problem. Which honestly, I think is reasonable in the right context. But we already know that MrBeast is well past that line. He's using voice actors as a placeholder until he has the technology to eliminate them altogether, while citing meaningless metrics as to why he needs to do it. He decided to hire one AI concept artist to do the work of several, while misleading people into thinking that as long as no one is fired, then there's no argument to be made that he's replacing jobs. Nah, it totally makes sense that for how many thumbnails he goes through per video.
Somebody on Reddit actually compiled a thumbnail progression of one of MrBeast's videos that went through 108 different thumbnails.
He only needed one concept artist and wouldn't have been forced to hire more if not for generative AI. And then of course trying to profit off of making countless artists obsolete while fully wanting AI to take over YouTube with zero concern for the actual creators who would lose their ability to make a living and implying they would deserve it. Oh, and for all this, he presents it to his audience as though he's helping the ones that will be most hurt by his plans. Meaning anything less than gratitude, well, let's just say Jimmy has gotten real comfortable going after anyone that doesn't kiss the ring.
Because he crashed out over a smaller creator getting ranked higher on the Rolling Stone's most influential creator list. And MrBeast coming in at number 7, which you might think would prompt a tweet like, oh, that's cool. Or hell, even if it was negative, maybe how many views do I have to get to be number 1? But instead, he decided to take aim at someone on the list above him. Writing in a now deleted tweet, according to this list, a guy with 1 million followers is more influential than me. What did I do to piss off the Rolling Stones?
MrBeast makes history by becoming the first person to become a billionaire without selling their soul. This was possible because he never had a soul to begin with. Just a few days after I posted that, I was messaged by a pretty popular YouTuber, and that YouTuber told me that MrBeast would like to have a word. I will tell you that said YouTuber is a lawyer. And I was then met with this string of DMs. Howdy! Saw your tweet about me not having a soul. Would love to chat on Discord or phone sometime, because I think there might be a misunderstanding. How do you react when one of the most famous and wealthy Americans on the planet, reaches out to you because he wants to get in a Discord call so he can explain to you that he was in fact born with a soul.
And while he stressed that he would never want to replace artists and that the idea truly disturbs him,
I also want to put out there that I guarantee you, I have spent more money on thumbnail artists than any other YouTuber in the world. I have no intention of firing my thumbnail artists or anything. Like,
it's so hypocritical because I have more thumbnail artists on payroll than anyone else on YouTube, probably times 10. Like the amount of money I pay thumbnail artists and people who work on my thumbnails is ridiculous.
Why don't we get him talking to Mark Zuckerberg again and see how long it takes for him to go back to bragging about it?
We swapped out the voice actors and started doing AI dubbing.
And begging Mark to help him eliminate 16 languages worth of voice actors.
I wouldn't be surprised if ideally in a year, I just post a video on Facebook, check a box, and then it, like you said, just AI dubs it in 20 languages. That'd be ideal. Yes, and hopefully within a year, have dubs, and you can reach even more people.
I think I think your request of getting that within a year is very reasonable.
I just want to harp on this because I'm telling you, it will change everything.
Yep, it doesn't even occur to him that he is actively celebrating tens of thousands of voice actors, if not more, all over the world being out of a job because of this. An industry with enough money going through it that even MrBeast wanted to get in on it, just gone overnight. When he checks that box, those dozens of voice actors he's made redundant won't mind one bit. In fact, they'll be grateful. And what makes this worse is that replacing the face of a thumbnail in order to steal it, that's something that Jimmy specifically came out against when the practice was costing him money. Oh, and whatever you do, don't get him started on MrBeast clones or really anything that could be perceived as theft. Like, this is something that he talked about multiple times.
There's this Russian kid that literally copies every video word for word,
steal my thumbnails
scene for
and
scene.
everything. Whenever we do something, usually like thousands or at least hundreds of other people do it.
Because there's so many that just to a T, just steal everything, my thunder and all that.
There's a lot of people who just make videos like ours, just slightly less money and dumber down. But don't just copy my intros verbatim, my thumbnails verbatim, and just be a ripoff of me. Like,
I'll, spend 6 months working on a project and millions of dollars and all this time and effort and brain power, and then after I upload 2 weeks later, someone will just do the exact same video, say the exact same words with the exact same thumbnail.
And all these countries are just see who can copy our English videos first in their country.
There's like inspiration and then there's just stealing. And so many people just steal what I do. Like,
there's a lot of people copy my every move. And I've spent 5 years building how we do everything. And
there are people who make millions of dollars just literally ripping off what I do.
Again, I can't speak to his intention, but isn't it interesting for such a dramatic 180 in opinion to occur right as the practice goes from costing him money to making it?
So many people literally just put their face on my face.
Right.
From creating custom results from any channel to literally being able to put your face on a thumbnail, it literally feels like cheating. You could also copy a URL from any YouTube video. We'll just paste this one I have here. And in the prompt box, just tell it what to change in the thumbnail.
It's quite a few weird coincidences for someone who doesn't care about money, right? And this isn't the first time that, in my opinion, he has sided against creators in pursuit of personal benefit. Take videos being re-uploaded, both outright, but also with reactions that rely on an agape jaw in the corner adding nothing.
So many witnesses heard gunshots coming from multiple directions. That is to say, next to no one did.
There are loads of reasons that this is controversial, but one is that what little exposure a creator gains from a few people re-uploading them is negligible, if not outright harmful, since it means you now have to compete with the re-upload for views. But admittedly, thousands of creators re-uploading your stuff, that would get your name out there pretty quickly. And on top of essentially using these re-uploads to establish passive name recognition, much like Disney, it also saves you the trouble of having to dedicate resources to enforcing your copyright. And if you're the single largest creator, then whose re-upload is possibly going to act as harmful competition? In other words, these re-uploads are only helpful when you're operating at a scale that very few do. And unrelated fun fact, MrBeast is one of the biggest cheerleaders for these freebooters.
If you're an influencer, you should go on like a couple dozen podcasts. You should clip all the best parts and just put it in a folder and just give it to your fans and let them go start TikTok accounts. Like they'll like literally promote you for free and go like an army, just show your videos.
Real quick, did you notice how Jimmy just suggested that creators encourage their fans to re-upload the podcast they appear on as a guest for personal gain, despite not owning the copyright of those podcasts? Dude said that to the host's face and sees no problem. This is what I'm talking about. He knows that something will benefit him, so he declares it as the law of the land and pushes it on you regardless of your take. And say the host didn't agree. Are you gonna blow up your podcast with the #1 YouTuber? No.
I won't say who, but the YouTuber with 20 million subscribers the other day. It's funny. He took the opposite stance. He's like, all these people keep re-uploading my videos on TikTok. And he sent me this one TikTok with like 30 million views where it was just a part of his video. And I was like, I just called him. I was like, yo, you fucking dipshit. You know how many people of that 30 million had no clue who you were? How many viewers that drove to your videos? I was like, what the fuck are you going on about? You want to strike this? He was just like, well, it spoils the videos, or now they're not going to watch my videos. And I just told him he was an idiot. You definitely want people to re-upload your content now. It's OP.
And of course, he never acknowledges the harm this does to a platform at large, nor how this practice will almost never benefit smaller creators. Like, since he sees himself as a champion for creators, you would think he could at least acknowledge, yeah, it sucks that so much space ends up being given to freebooters, but since you can't change that, might as well reap the benefits of your competition. Like, he refuses to acknowledge the possibility that there is harm to this practice. Does that remind you of how he talks about anything else? And remember, even if you're not the one being re-uploaded, you still have to compete with all of these freebooters for impressions. Shouldn't he be against money that could go to creators being instead given to freebooters? Think about it. Why would he say that it's bad for some Russian creator to remake his video from scratch, but re-uploads are more than fine despite being way lazier? Both do similar damage to creators, but at least one of them is getting the MrBeast name out there. In fact, React videos have become a key part of his strategy. And I don't even mean the old Beast Reacts channel. I mean that he specifically tells people to re-upload his big projects in order to promote them.
Clip my videos. React to my videos on your Twitch stream, your whatever stream. Clip my videos, put it on TikTok. I don't care. Just make sure you get views.
Hope you weren't planning to post anything in a similar niche when Beast Games premiered, because Jimmy made sure YouTube was flooded with his face. Hell, he was bribing people to do it. In fact, when MKBHD was trying to gauge people's opinions on this, MrBeast publicly responded to the tweet with his hard pro stance, which that alone makes the result of the poll completely unreliable, but under the guise of positivity. And since again, we can't speak on intention, we have to focus on the picture painted by such circumstantial evidence. Isn't it possible that Jimmy specifically wanted to derail this poll? I mean, it's certainly in his best interest to do so. If the biggest tech creators started to enforce their copyright, it could empower other creators to do so as well, which would make Jimmy look weird in comparison as the only one trying to encourage the practice. Oh, and if it sounds like I'm reaching without any evidence, don't worry, I got you. You see, Marquez also posted the poll to Threads, where it doesn't seem like Jimmy replied, and the results were different by 12%. Now, statistics might not be my specialty, but if a 1% deviation is enough for MrBeast to start laying off all of his voice actors, I'll let you determine how significant that is. So yet again, MrBeast benefits, freeloading creators benefit, but the actual creators who are harmed by these re-uploads, they get screwed, just like with AI. So, quick hypothetical. Kwebbelkop had previously expressed his interest in using AI to completely replace what little role he has in producing React content.
All right. Pressing down now. Oh, look at those fake eyeballs squish. Let's add some color.
In other words, he was striving for a content farm that could allow him to repost thousands of videos per month while just barely eking by the legal minimum for being transformative.
If I want to build tons and tons and tons of channels that will flourish and shine forever, we need to remove the human element. And whatever happens, you'll never find out. If we want to start more channels, we can. We just start a brand new team who goes and makes videos as this influencer, as this virtual influencer. And you can start as many channels as you want because they all function under the same brand.
Now, I think that everyone can agree that this is one of the most blatant abuses of the platform possible, right? One that Kwebbelkop is actively encouraging others to do.
The Kwebbelkop you're seeing on the screen right now is not really me. I hope this video provides a better glimpse into the vision that we have for Kwebbelkop AI and a future in which influencers can use AI to enhance their storytelling, lower the barriers of entry, and share themselves with the world.
And considering channels like this are already taking millions that could be funding original content, this is where Jimmy's finally going to draw a hard line with both React content and AI, right? I mean, the line's a bit far for my liking, but it's not like on two separate occasions Jimmy would specifically avoid giving a firm stance on this, right? That's not what a leader would do, and Jimmy takes that responsibility very seriously. So, you already know what the next clips are going to be, don't you?
What do you think about what creators like Kwebbelkop are doing, where they've taken themselves, created an avatar, having AI?
Same thing. Almost there, not quite there yet.
Do you feel like that it takes away some of the creativity when it becomes that automated?
Yeah, obviously. I think like the beauty would be like having AI tools help, right? Like if you're just like, hey, I need an image for this thing I'm saying. Give me like 100 things to inspire me.
Yeah, I want to implement it where we just make an AI Jimmy and I just don't have to film.
Quebble Cup style.
yeah. Quebble Cup, but never mind, I was gonna make a joke. But Jordy, I love you. I'm not gonna make that joke.
You know, if I didn't know any better, I would say that Jimmy is starting to act like a billionaire who's somehow running a company that's losing $100 million per year, thus meaning he has to prioritize profit over any sense of morality. Good thing something like that would never happen, because it would put creators in a real bad spot to be represented by someone that desperate to make money while in a position to do it at the expense of literally everyone else. Yeah, if you're not looking at your screen right now, you should. I have some reading for you. And while MrBeast often tries to present these things as an equalizer for small creators,
I've built a ton of internal tools that I use on my MrBeast YouTube channel, and now I'm releasing all those tools in ViewStats Pro.
I don't believe that's true at all, nor do I necessarily think it should, at least not in the way MrBeast wants. Because yes, the idea of anyone being a YouTuber is great. It's what makes YouTube YouTube. But in practice, the way that Jimmy talks about this isn't, hey, let's move closer to a meritocracy since careers in entertainment are usually founded on nepotism. Which yeah, I would agree with that. It instead feels like the weird pro-generative AI arguments you see online that essentially boil down to, hey, making art and videos are cool. Therefore, every single person is entitled to make money from it, even if they don't have the talent, skill, or drive to, well, create. I mean, like Dark Viper pointed out, wanting to give small creators access to the level of quality that comes from a large staff, that sounds great, but those tools are also going to allow the ones who can afford to pay employees to instead pocket those salaries and rely on the tools. You know, like Jimmy already is. And remember, I'm saying all of this as someone who he argues would greatly benefit from such an equalizer. Also, I'm gonna gatekeep a little bit, but if you don't want to learn how to write, host, edit, produce, then yeah, maybe you shouldn't be a YouTuber because you don't like making YouTube videos. The position has always come with learning on the fly and becoming a jack of all trades. Why replace the people passionate enough to put in that work with the ones who only care about money?
And it's just kind of like blackpilling to see one of the largest content creators on the platform openly pushing for this like AI revolution to take hold. Especially considering the fact that it's not even content that's made for the fun of it. It's content that's made for the pure optimization of YouTube stuff out there.
Like, let's take Casey Neistat, who dedicated his life to filmmaking and cinematography. He saw a gap in the vlogging niche that only he could fill thanks to his years as a filmmaker. And with his vlogging series that would include a documentary level video every day, he was able to innovate and change the genre. And it wasn't long before creators like Logan Paul were heavily invested in placing their spin on this. But since they didn't have the skills to do so, they hired people who did and thus created jobs.
I love seeing this because, you know, I just send you footage and I go, here.
You would film anything and everything, not think about how it's going to be presented, and you just say, go.
That's why. That's why we work so well together.
Yeah.
Like, that's next to impossible.
Meanwhile, Casey Neistat saw the most benefit from this format since he was the one innovative and talented enough to pull it off in the first place. But if in 2015, AI was where it'll likely be in the near future, then there's a chance that none of that would have happened. And yes, it is an incredibly good thing that a random kid from North Carolina can find stardom thanks to YouTube. That is one of the best things that the internet has ever done. But that shouldn't come at the cost of talented people who dedicated their life to a craft being able to find success outside of the barriers that come with Hollywood. The great thing about YouTube is that it allows for both random Cinderella stories and second chances for talented people. And for what MrBeast pushes YouTube to be, I worry that it'll tip things even further in the wrong direction. You already have channels that are openly founded on using theft to achieve an impossible quantity of uploads in order to flood their face everywhere without having to do any work in return. How is AI supposed to make that any better? How is any of what Jimmy's doing supposed to improve things for anyone that actually views YouTube as more than just a way to make money? Though I want to make one thing clear. Yes, generative AI is coming one way or another, and every single creative across every single discipline is going to have to adapt, and that's not Jimmy's fault. However, you don't need to roll out the red carpet and race towards that destruction because you see a way to come out on top. Social pressure is really the only thing sort of curbing AI right now, but that pressure is really undercut when MrBeast starts begging one of his favorite billionaires to personally make him a fire everyone button. I guess what I'm saying is, someone can pretend to stand for the little guy all they want, but sooner or later, people are going to notice who they're actually aligning themselves with. And hey, maybe crypto scammers, sociopathic billionaires, and someone bragging about taking the human touch out of art are better company than the creators he sees as collateral damage on his path to greatness. And while I understand that sacrifice is needed to continuously grow a brand, I don't know. For someone who loves reminding everyone of all the ways they throw their money around in response to every criticism, you would think that Jimmy might see it as worthwhile to be part of the solution, even if he can't turn it into a Beast philanthropy video. Or if not, he can at least have the decency to acknowledge the harm that he is comfortable causing if it leads to his gain. But hey, at least we can look forward to a bright future of a YouTube full of AI bots reacting to Beast Games Season 9, because isn't that what creating's all about? Bye! Thanks again to Delete Me for sponsoring this video. To get your data removed from the internet, check out Delete Me via the link in the description and get 20% off.